Hello everyone, and welcome to this online tutorial on how to get more web traffic. My name is James Tuckerman, and today I'll be joined by web marketing mastermind and growth hacker extraordinaire Mark Middleton. But before I introduce ourselves properly and get the lesson underway, to get your brain juices flowing, I have a simple question that I'd like you to ponder. In fact, I'd love you to tap out in the Q&A box or write down on a piece of paper, if that's your thing, write down on a piece of paper what you personally believe to be the three most important factors to get right if you believe that your goal is to increase web traffic, okay? So use the little box and tap something out. If that's too hard, just jot down one. What do you think is the most important factor to get right if your goal is to increase your web traffic? Or what do you think are the top three? There are no right or wrong answers, folks. Just penalties in life for not participating. Seize the day, folks. Carpe diem. Here they come. Here they start to come. Sam says backlinks. And backlinks are definitely important. And we're going to talk about them today, but they're not in my top three. But a great answer, Sam. Kathy says SEO, search engine optimization. Someone said content then. Great answer. We're moving very, very fast, so it's hard to see. Varum said to create a Google-friendly website, which is like SEO. Content. People coming in. Nick says social media. Very astute. Wow, there's many people and they're flying by. Clearly defined target market. Thank you, Josh. That's a very important thing. All things so far that we'll be covering during this series. Ease of your website, says David Errington. So many things, right? And it's kind of hard to get your head around this sort of stuff. So many things and so many possible answers. We clearly have some proactive minds and intelligent thinkers with us today. And I have to say I'm always very proud about the types of people we attract to our live tutorials and our live events. So thank you everyone for participating and making me so very proud. Mark and I naturally asked ourselves this question while preparing for today, and we went through a similar process and we wrote down a lot of things, as you can possibly imagine, starting with the tactical before moving on to theory. But then we thought those factors aren't going to assist our listeners in the long term. Things change, technology evolves, and as humans, we're flawed. Sure, Mark and I are going to cover tactics and theories and strategies and give you recipes to help you succeed and get you the traffic that you desire. But we also came up with these items as our top three most important factors: mindset, market, and habits. Now, where am I going with this? What do we mean by these three things? Well, mindset. Well, the first thing when people think about traffic, they think it's really hard. They think that it takes ages, and you need a PhD in coding. And what tends to then happen, of course, is that we end up going to SEO consultants and organizations and agencies, and some are very good and some are just plain cowboys. And so we hand all this stuff to an SEO cowboy or consultant because we think that getting traffic is too hard. Now, this is a mind state. When actually getting traffic is actually not so hard when we run through some of the things that we've got. And people also assume it takes ages. No, it doesn't actually take ages. That's another thing that SEO consultants say. They say you have to sign up with us for 3 to 6 months to 9 months to 12 months, whatever it's going to be. And they often say it's going to cost around $900 to $3,000 a month. They're the sorts of ranges that people seem to talk about. $900 a month is like almost 12 grand a year. And $2 grand, $3 grand is like $25,000 a year. So the first thing that the most important factors is the mindset. We think getting traffic is hard. It's not that hard, and it shouldn't take ages, and we should be able to take some autonomy. Speaking of autonomy, the second thing is market. Yes, someone actually said when we asked important factors, they said understanding your target market, understanding your customer. Yes, market traffic attraction is a marketing function. It's a marketing function. But we seem to push things like web traffic, onto our web developers and our IT team. I say take it back. You don't need to be an IT genius. I'm not an IT genius to take it back. Because otherwise we fall into this trap of every time we want a small tweak or change made, we have to go to our pay-by-hour marketing consultant or go back to our team, and it takes forever, and it costs, $150 an hour or more, or less maybe if you've got someone online. But we lose our autonomy, and sometimes a tweak or a change can be made quite quickly, but at the same time, at the end of the day, it's a marketing function. Why do we want traffic? We want traffic to get people to our website so we can engage with them for an end game, a commercial game. And the third one is habits. As I said, yes, as humans, we tend to be quite flawed, but successful people harness habits. You've heard of Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. You've probably read books about habits. Habits create long-term success. Now, we're going to help you by sharing some cheats and some shortcuts. We use the word hacks. By the way, don't be frightened by the word hack, because hack simply means the word shortcut. And there are ethical hacks, which are basically ethical shortcuts. We learn in school that shortcuts are bad. We learn in business that shortcuts are vital. So habits, sure, we're going to be sharing cheats and hacks and shortcuts, and they help in the long term, but habits create a business. Habits are what make you successful over the longer term. You hear all these rags to riches sort of, download my web traffic accelerator plugin boondoggle, and you're going to immediately get like a gazillion people visiting your website. But these here are either black hat or grey hat hacks, which not white hat, which is good and ethical. And as we explain and share some of the ways that Google thinks, you'll get a better understanding of why those things can be dangerous. Sure, there are ethical hacks and there are ethical shortcuts, but habits are what create success over the long term. And when we're putting these slides down, we have to give a shout out to a guy called Neil Patel. He's a bit of an SEO guru from the US, but he was one of the first people that basically smashed it into my head, the importance of mindset. So got to give credit where credit's due. Now, as you're aware, this is a 3-part education series. There's a lot to cover in this world called SEO. So we'll be meeting online 3 times. Today, so thank you for joining us, next Wednesday, and the Wednesday after that at 12 noon. Each time 12 noon. 3 weeks, 3 Wednesdays, 3 12 noons. Some of you will naturally want to know, do we get access to the slides and the recordings? The answer is that we won't be providing the slides until after all 3 webinars. We have surprises, and we don't want to give away any of our surprises. We try to occasionally break your guessing machines. It's a clever way to make an idea stick, which is we don't want to reveal any of those surprises or how we're going to attempt to break your guessing machines. But after the webinar series, we'll be circulating the slides, and we'll be encouraging you to take the lessons and use the slides to educate a colleague, a client, a peer. Yes, learn by teaching, folks, and demonstrate leadership in the process. People who get traffic are natural leaders. They earn their leadership cred. They earn their SEO cred by demonstrating leadership qualities, by teaching and sharing. The recordings will be provided after each webinar for a limited amount of time, for a matter of days. So unless you're a paid-up subscriber of Antil's premium membership, the Antil Academy, in which you get unlimited access to all our lessons and courses over time, yes, if you're not a member, check it out. The webinars will be available, but only for a limited amount of time. So them's the rules. Grab a pen and paper and listen up, because here are just some of the things we'll be covering. We want to debunk myths. Dumb and expensive mistakes. I've put this as the first thing because dumb and expensive mistakes are more costly than shortcuts. They set you back financially. They slow down your progress. But in this game, if you make a really dumb mistake and alienate search engines like Google, they can set you back a long time, and that can be quite devastating. So we want to debunk some of the myths, the dumb things that people do and the mistakes that people do. We've got 10 shortcuts that we're going to run through. Ethical hacks, yes, ethical hacks and tweaks. Some of them are mind-bogglingly obvious, but then you'll think, yeah, that's obvious, but why aren't I doing it? We want to help you obviously overcome that hurdle too. Start from scratch. Now, we asked ourselves, if we were to launch a website from scratch, so, James Tuckerman, Mark Meadow, we've both got successful websites, multiple websites, and some of them have longevity and some of them are quite new. But if we were to start from scratch, what would we do? We asked ourselves, if we had to do all this again and start with a clean slate, what would we do? And we came up with the radical idea of building an SEO super turbocharged website from scratch while you watch, which is a big, bold, audacious goal. And that's something that we're going to be covering in part 2 of our 3 parts. Now, I've also got the word game changer here. We'll be offering one big fat game changer. I'm not going to reveal that now. What we will be doing is introducing a kick-ass strategy that you can implement on your own if you're interested, or you can continue the journey with us after the series. Because we know from experience that there are 3 types of people in the world, and you can decide who you are. There are people who want to do it themselves. They are the DIYs. There are people who want to do stuff with us, and there are people who want us to do stuff for them. And think about this in your world with your clients. You'll recognize this. There are people who want to do what you do by themselves. They want you to just teach them. There are people who want to do it with you, and there are people who want you to do it for them. And we realize this, and we recognize this, and we understand that there are different ways of learning and different types of progress. So we've created a follow-up course, a live course, specifically focused on this one awesome game changer, which we'll be revealing later in the series. And here's a spoiler alert. This game changer not only increased traffic to Anthill when we put it in motion, but it tripled our leads. It tripled the number of leads, which is kind of significant because why do we want traffic? We want traffic to fulfill our commercial goals. So we'll be sharing the details of that later in the series, not today. So you can all take a deep sigh of relief. This is not a webinar or a big fat advertisement disguised as a webinar to sell our course or product like so many webinars are these days. It's something that we'll be talking about later. Today is all about learning and teaching and educating. It would be an understatement to say that we're just kind of super excited because we know what a huge difference this series will make to so many people. In fact, we were talking about it earlier. I can't remember putting so much effort into a lesson series, trying to pack so much information into a set of tutorials. So, who are we? But who are you, James and Mark? Well, I'm James Tuckerman, and a lot of people on the line will already know who I am. But for those who don't, very briefly, I'm the founder of Anthill, which is Australia's largest and longest-running online community for entrepreneurs. And if you know a bit about my business, you'll know that Anthill magazine was once a print-based magazine, old school, available in all good newsagents, airports, borders, bookshops, remember them? And in its print heyday, I was named Best Small Publisher in Australia twice for 2 years running as a wee lad in my 20s. But in 2009, Anthill made the bold decision to ditch our print history and go 100% digital. Why am I telling you this? Well, because what was seen as a super mad, crazy move at the time by our industry peers, and we copped some great headlines like Anthill magazine Pit bites the dust, and Anthill magazine latest victim of the financial crisis, some great headlines. So what was considered a mad move by industry peers, it quickly paid off, and within 6 months we were listed by Nielsen Online Ratings among the top 50 business and finance websites in Australia, number 1 being the ASX, number 2 being CommSec. And we're in the top 50 according to traffic. But here is the genuinely mad or crazy thing. This transition was undertaken on a budget of $900. Now that was a big secret at the time. Now we'll tell anyone who will listen. But it wasn't 90,000, it wasn't 9,000, it was 900. And here we were beating major news organisations, which is the top 50. It was not just news, it was things like ComSec and the ASX. So how we made that transition and how we earned that ranking is all about, you guessed it, traffic creation. So during this series, I'll be sharing some of the smarter things that we did and what we would do, as I said before, if we had to start again from scratch. Now, my partner in crime today is none other than the author of the 5-Minute Business, Mark Middleton, also known as Mark Middo. Now, Mark sold his first business, get this, at the age of 23 for 6 figures. I don't know what you were doing when you were 23, but personally, I was struggling to find change in the sofa seats of the couch to buy a slab of beer and barely put together enough change to buy a six-pack. At 23, he'd not only built his first online business, but he'd sold it for 6 figures. That's not bad for a bloke in his early 20s. He's since gone on to do amazing things. He's still in his 20s, Gen Y, and to help big brands conquer the web. And I'm talking about big brands such as Renault, MotoGP. And tell me if you've heard of this brand before. It's a little burger joint called McDonald's. One of the most impressive things on his ever-growing resume, working for Formula One, he was largely responsible for increasing their web traffic by 100% in 12 months. All right, so working for Formula One came in and increased their web traffic by 100% in 12 months, and we're not talking about a couple hundred page views here. We're talking about a couple million unique visitors. Nick has just gone, what? Yeah, what? I know. Nick, are you like a 23-year-old going, I wish I was selling a 6-figure business. But now my dark and dirty confession is that I personally was dragged kicking and screaming into the digital age. A print guy dragged kicking and screaming into the digital age. My strength in that respect means, in other words, if I can do it, you can do it too. All right? But Mark, on the other hand, is the quintessential growth hacker. When the internet came into being, he was about about 11 or 12. So the things that Mark can do make my eyeballs pop and my head spin. And I've been trying to find a way to get Mark in front of our audience for quite some time, and it's finally happened. Huzzah! So Mark, I've talked for quite a bit now.
Yep.
So to
finally get a chance.
To formally introduce you, I'm just going to ask you a question. Mark, what is your name? Is it Mark Middleton or is it Mark Middo? What's the deal?
It's first I'll say hi everyone, and James, thanks for having me on. It's Middleton, I'll admit, it's Middleton, but I do want to change it by default to Mark Middo, just based on the fact that, one, I'll rank higher on Google, and two, I think Middleton's gone a bit too royal now.
Gone a bit too royal.
Kate stuffed it up for me.
Kate
my
Middleton.
cousin.
Yeah, how can you compete with Kate Middleton?
Exactly. So yeah, I just had to go with Middo, and it just sounds a bit cooler, so I reckon.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But what I really love is Mark is such a growth hacker extraordinaire. He's so dedicated to this space that he realized one day when he typed into Mark, when he was Googling himself, when he typed in Mark Middleton, there were too many Mark Middletons. So what do?
Change your name.
You change your name.
It's the logical next step.
That is an absolute hardcore dedication.
Oh. Yeah. Well, if you're Googling your name on a daily basis like me, then it's the logical next step, isn't it?
If you Google yourself on a daily basis, that's right. So that's who we are, James Tuckerman and Mark Middleton. So as I said, I come from a background in print, and I was forced kicking and screaming into this space, whereas Mark is the quintessential digital native. He was born in this land called the internet, and has taken it to a duck to water.
That's all I know.
It's all you know. In your adult life, there has never not been the internet. Exactly. During your teenage years, the internet was always there.
It was always there.
So let's get cracking. Here's a very obvious question. Who has a website? I won't even bother make you type it in. Oh, if you feel like it, tap in. Yeah, I have a website. I'll tell you what. The first 3 people to type in your websites, your URLs, I'll give you a shout out. I'll give you a shout out, a big plug. As I said, we've got 300 people here. Renovatorstore.com.au, globetrotter.com.au. Oh, gee, they're moving too fast. Sorry, whoever came in fast in the first ones there. Too many sassy legs. Coffee to Coast, improve it. I gave more than 5, but I'll have to call out who the first one is because the screen is flying.
Yeah, 300 we've got there.
Yeah, there's 200. So who has a website? Well, if you've got a website, you probably, you obviously want traffic. That's why we're here. If we really want to break it down, there are 3 sources of traffic. There are 3 sources of traffic. This is a big topic that we're covering. So we want to focus not on everything, but we're gonna do our best to get as far as we can. And when we break it into the 3 sources, big picture here, we call them paid, earned, and owned traffic. Paid traffic. What's paid traffic, Mark?
Well, you're looking at Google AdWords, your Facebook ads, even buying links off other people, things like that. That's where you have to pay to get traffic back to your website.
Yeah, and it's also the equivalent of watching an ad on TV. And imagine Harvey Norman spending $1 million on ads. And then at the bottom of the ad it says go to harveynorman.com.au.
Exactly.
I was playing around with a furniture company's website not so long ago doing some consulting work, and I was looking at where all their traffic was coming from, and it was about 95% direct traffic. So that's people typing their URL into search engines. And I think that we could all agree that advertising is probably the most expensive form of traffic.
Oh, for sure.
And you can burn through cash really easily. There are 3 parts in this series. A couple people have already asked whether we could do something on AdWords, and maybe we might do a 4th one on AdWords, because if you can get your strategy right, which is what we'll be focusing on part 2, you can make it work for you. But we're not specifically focusing on paid advertising. I'm going to jump to this 3rd one, owned. Does anyone online want to have a guess what we mean when we talk about owned? There's just too many people, I think. Mark, when I say owned, what do you think when I say owned media?
Well, I think about owning your own subscriber database. So either email list or social media bases, fan bases, things like that.
Well, that's right, because it could be a Twitter following. It could be a Twitter following. It could be a Facebook following, or it could be subscribers to an email database.
Yeah.
Because once you own it, they're yours.
Yeah.
And you can give them reasons to come back to your website again and again and again. Debbie said email addresses there, and Kathy said content. There you go. So that's the combo. The owned media is develop your database, create your marketing asset, and you can invite people to come back again and again and again. I'm going to give you a snapshot of Antil's traffic a little bit later on. I'm going to take you under the hood.
Yeah.
But that there is, I think, 30% of our traffic comes from our subscribers.
Yeah, it's a continual source.
Yeah, someone opens, an Antil, hits an Antil page from one of those sources, I think every 4 seconds.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's awesome.
Earned. This is where we're going to spend a lot of time today. And earned, we're talking about referrals, which in the world of online, on online marketing usually comes down to these 2 things, search engines and backlinks. So search engines
Search engines basically mean, Google, Bing, Yahoo.
Yep.
We'll primarily focus on Google because most of our traffic comes from Google.
Yep.
That's what you really want to optimize for.
So when we're talking about search engines, we're generally talking about search engine optimization.
Yeah.
And we've split that from backlinks. Even though backlinks is an essential component of search engine optimization, backlinks in their own right are referral traffic, aren't they?
Yeah, they definitely are.
That is earned traffic. You've done something good, and people are recognizing it by linking to you.
Exactly.
That is earned traffic. So that's where we're going to be hanging out today. We're going to be hanging out in earned. I mentioned then that backlinks and search engine optimization are interrelated. They're interlinked. But to really understand how search engines think and behave, and as we said before, cheats and shortcuts are good, but if you're not behaving the way that search engines want you to, you can hurt yourself and your brand in the longer term.
Yeah, it's definitely better to know how search engines think into the long term.
In fact, if there was anything over the entire series, if you only remembered one thing, it is
How they think.
Get your head around how search engines think. And we're going to cover the big five factors that search engines think about. And I want to take you back in time briefly. I want to take you back in time to 1999. 1999. Has anyone read Seth Godin's Permission Marketing? What a brilliant book. I know Mark hasn't because I asked him earlier and he said no.
Yeah. Well, you can zoom through Seth Godin books in about 3 hours, can't you? Anyway, so I'll have to quickly grab that one and read through it nice and quick.
Yeah. Well, it's a fantastic book and it's well worth tracking down. I only read it a couple of years ago.
Okay, yeah.
But here's the funny thing he said in the introduction. 1999. I want you to fill the space for me. Perhaps you can do this for me, listeners online. He said, in the world right now, in 1999, did you know that there are almost X websites in the world right now? There are almost X websites in the world right now! Exclamation point. What was the number that you think fitted in there? 1999, he went, everybody, this is big news. In the world right now, did you know that there are as many as X websites in the world right now? Okay, Nick just said 500 million. Thank you, Nick. When I asked Mark earlier today, he said 500,000.
500,000.
Here's what he says in the introduction. Did you know that there are, Kathy said 230 million. Okay, back to 1999. He said in the introduction of the book, did you know that there are almost 5,000 websites in the world right now? Like, that was an enormous big deal. Right? 5,000. 5,000. Yeah.
Forget how long ago, 1999.
99 is 5,000, right? Yeah. So this was a big deal. So when search engines first arrived, you'd be surprised to learn this, but in 1999, the world leaders in search engine services was actually, in terms of a country, it was Australia. In 1999, it was actually Australia. We had a business called LookSmart, and LookSmart was the world leader in search engine technology. And their methodology was to, like if you owned a library, get like librarians or content auditors to go to every one of these 5,000 websites and annotate what's on those websites.
Yeah. Yahoo used to do something similar as well.
Yahoo used to do that too.
It was part of their strategy.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's crazy when you think about it now. But when there's only 5,000, it seemed reasonable. There's probably 5,000 books in an average library.
Yeah.
So it seemed perfectly reasonable and rational. Now, the reason why Google are absolutely dominating search right now, and dominating the planet with all sorts of things, is because they made it one big, massive mental leap forward. And what was that, Mark?
They changed the search algorithm to be based around links. And how many links were, how many sites were linking back to the other site to make that the popularity and the search rankings.
The backlink has the endorsement.
Yeah.
The more backlinks that you got, the better the site must be, because more people have cited it or referenced it in their web blogs.
It was basically based on academic writing. When you think about good academic pieces of writing, they've got the most sites to the most people who are actually referencing that journal piece. And then they're obviously referencing good journal pieces as well.
I don't know if this is true, but I heard that if you wanted to qualify for the Global Nobel Science Peace Prize, you needed over 1,000 citations.
Yeah.
So your idea would have needed to have been referenced in 1,000 pieces of published work. So they took that idea and they introduced backlinks. And it was the simplest thing ever. If someone's linking to you, you must be good. The more people who are linking to you, the better that you must be. And that's logical and it's simple and it makes sense. But then what happened next?
It got gamed.
It got gamed.
Just like blackjack.
People worked out how to beat the system. And they created phantom sites.
Yeah, and making just really average sites, putting them online, and just sending heaps of links back to the target site, and, web directories, all sorts of stuff.
I remember a guy creating a product called The Juice, and it was basically what it would do is it would create like 1,000 web pages, websites, in a nanosecond based on keywords all pointing to your site.
Yeah.
And of course, the moment that people began to do that, the moment that Google clamped down on it and introduced the second factor of the big five things that search engines think about, and that is PageRank.
PageRank is, that was a great call. It was basically their algorithm, their unique algorithm for weighing the importance of a site based on the quality of the links that are linking back to that site.
Yeah, so every web page, not every website, but every web page on the planet has a Pagerank, and Mark might call it PR during today because he talks in abbreviations, so I don't think he means public relations or press releases. But Pagerank, yeah, so a web page will have a PageRank between 0 and 10. 10's the best, yeah?
Yeah, 10's the best.
And most web pages will probably have somewhere from 0 to 3.
Yeah.
And a good quality one would have 3 to 5. A great news site like the Wall Street Journal or The Age or the Sydney Morning Herald. I don't know if you think that they're great or not, but they're important. They might have a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
And then when you really get to the top of the tree, it's like Facebook at 9 and Wikipedia at 9.
Twitter have 10 as well.
Twitter have 10.
Twitter have 10.
I'd be really interested to know how many websites out there actually have a 10.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's only a handful.
Yeah, it wouldn't be many.
There's a massive gulf between to get from a 0 to a 1 to a 1 to a 2 to a 2 to a 3 is not such a big deal. To get to a 3 or to a 4 or 5 is harder. To get to a 6 is really hard.
Yeah.
And to get into the realms of a 7 or 8 or a 9 or 10, it's very, very hard. But the point is, if someone's linking to me and they've got a page rank of 5, that's far more important for a search engine optimization perspective than 1,000 websites pointing to me that all have a page rank of 0.
Yeah, exactly, because you've got an important site linking back to you. You know, if you get news.com.au to put a link to you, based on an article, it's just
or Wikipedia, or all these big sites. So it's kind of like if you're going for a job interview, you can either turn up with 20 references from your aunt, your uncle, your primary school teacher, and that guy that you played under 14s basketball with, or one letter from Barack Obama, and that will get you the job
straight away.
That's the way it works. Now, Google got smarter, and they introduced factors such as the structure of your website. Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit more complicated, and it is kind of important. And we're going to go back and we're going to revisit this topic of structure. But basically, Google want you to have users to have a rich web experience, and if you've got a rubbish structured website where people can't find what they want easily, you're going to, your page rank is going to be diminished, and where you appear on rankings will be lower. You're less likely to appear at the top. Now this one here is where it starts to get a little bit freaky and a little bit exciting. Social search, explain that to me, Mark.
Well, that's based on Google's thinking into the future here. Social media, that affects search. Now you've got more links being shared on social media. To go back to your website, it says to Google that your site's active, that people like it now. And so they, base their algorithm based on these links, and also using Google Plus as well. Google Plus,
yeah. So if you're say your blog posts are associated with your Google Plus accounts, you get points. But they're basically saying, if you're active on social media, your site is being updated frequently and recently, and you're generating good content. So it must be good. Now this fifth one I didn't even know about till Mark and I started to have these discussions. And you told me about intuitive search.
This one's coming up. This one's a big one. So if you ever get a chance, read some stuff from Ray Kurzweil. He's taken over as Director of Engineering at Google, and he's a world-renowned futurist. And he's big in AI and that sort of stuff, artificial intelligence. And basically what he's been spruiking in a lot of his talks is the fact that Google are going to be able to predict what you're going to search for next based on your search history. They say that most people search for they have the same search pattern. Because they've got so much data on people, they're going to be able to predict what you're going to think about next.
So if I'm searching for hammers, and then I put in some obscure word like 9-inch, it's going to circle me up with nails.
Yes.
Because people who are one day searching for hammers are the next day searching for nails.
That's it.
Yeah, right. So if I'm searching for wrecking balls, I might end up with Miley Cyrus.
Yeah.
No, I have.
You'll be the outlier there.
I'll be the outlier.
But it's important to think about that, because when you create blog posts, you can start to think about what are people searching.
Astrid has said, "What's the name again?" Ray. Now, I don't expect you to spell it out, but if you Google Director of Engineering Ray,
spell your second name's Kruzweil, I think.
Right. Okay. Well, if in doubt, Google it. Ray
Bruce Weil.
Yeah, but Director of Engineering.
Director of
Engineering, Google, and his name will come up.
Crazy stuff.
So to reinforce what I was saying, we need to know how search engines think. We can do stuff today and it'll have a big impact. Will it have a big impact in 5 years' time? Well, we do not know, but if we understand how search engines think, we can continue to evolve to reflect them. Now, most people define this sort of stuff as off-page or on-page SEO. So when people are talking about off-page, they're talking about things that happen outside of your website, and that really comes down to backlinks. When people talk about on-page SEO, they're talking about things like the structure. So we're going to briefly break this sort of stuff down and give you some tips and tools. These are the things that Google is looking for when it wants to decide whether to give you a high page rank and keep you at the top. Speed of your website. If your website is slow, you will be penalized, because they want to deliver a rich experience. Internal linking, like the navigation of the site. Now we're going to go into this sort of stuff a little bit more in one of the future lessons. But things like internal linking, the navigation bar on your website, the sorts of things that appear at the top of your navigation bar, and are important places to put keywords.
Yeah, definitely.
So in the third tutorial, when we're addressing keywords, that's one of the things that we'll be talking about. External linking, where are they coming from? A link from a bad site is harmful.
Yeah, it is. You got spammy links.
You got spammy links.
You have to go and clean those up.
You have to get rid of them. Where to place the keywords, as I said, we'll talk about that later. And importantly, the frequency and the recency. So if you are putting up a website and never changing it ever again, because it costs $150 to get the web developer to add the text or change the blog post every time you want to do it, you're going to be penalized for that, which is why using blogging engines like something like WordPress are really important. Frequency and recency. Once again, we talked about habits, we talked about mindset, and we talked about marketing. All of those things tie back to frequency and recency of content. Now, we're going to give you some cheat sheets throughout our courses where you can go and you can look and you can learn stuff later. When we're talking about the structure and the navigation, Google Webmaster Tools.
Yeah, it's the ultimate. That will tell you everything about your website. And, you know, on-page stuff, what you've got to remember is, and we don't want to go too technical here, but not all websites are created equal. If the code's sloppy, if, you know, you've got a bad CMS, meaning content management system, these things affect your Google ranking.
Yeah.
Because your site's slow. It looks like a nightmare to read for Google's spider bots. It gets stuck.
Yeah.
It just goes, see you later, we'll put this site, page 10.
Yeah, or worse, you're too confusing, so we won't bother indexing you at all.
Exactly.
Google's
blind.
Yeah.
You know,
it's just a machine.
It's a machine.
So Webmaster Tools, it's a free service. You register, and it will give you a list of ways to improve. Google Site Speed. Now, I mentioned Google Site Speed, and Mark went, oh, what's that? I use, and what did you say?
GT Metrics.
GT Metrics.
Yeah.
All right.
They basically, similar sort of tools, they analyze your site, and they give you pointers of where you're going wrong.
Yeah.
Well, how you can speed it up.
Well, I'm going to say use Google Site Speed because it also gives recommendations, and they're coming from Google.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say use Google Site Speed as well.
He's too smart, this digital native. He's always jumping ahead. PageRank add-ons. Now, PageRank add-ons, if you want to know what your PageRank is, and it's not just the home page, it's every page on your site. If we have a bit of time during the Q&A, I'll show you what a PageRank add-on is. But if you use something like Mozilla Firefox as your internet browser, or if you use Chrome as your internet browser, you can download an add-on or a plugin, and that will allow you to see the PageRank of any website that you visit, including your own PageRank, which is kind of fun to check out the PageRank of your competitors.
Yeah, and for the links, if you've got a link on a website, you can have a look and see what the PageRank is and where you're linking, or where you're getting a link from, and also the targets of where you want to get a link from.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, that's what they're ranking.
Because if you're linking to a quality site, that's good. If you're linking to a crummy site, that's bad. So you also don't want to be linking to a crummy site.
Yeah, you don't want to reference some site that's a page rank 0. You want to be referencing sites that have got a good page rank because, like we said, academic journals, they're all referencing good quality sources.
Last note, WordPress. If you're using a WordPress website, congratulations. WordPress is the bomb. It's pretty much built to reflect best practice from Google's perspective. And then, of course, there are also plugins that you can add for a WordPress site. The navigation is right. You can add stuff yourself. You don't have to spend money on the developers. More than 50% of websites in the world today are now built on WordPress. Now, WordPress has its own critics, as anything that's big and popular does, but from an SEO perspective, it's the bomb.
Yeah, it's almost unbeatable.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because it's actually built originally as a blogging platform. So it's the updated content that really does it. And then people have transferred it so you can actually use it as your website and blogging platform at the same time. So
brilliant. Kathy has just said that there's a conversation happening on Twitter, hashtag TrafficTober.
Oh,
thank you, Kathy, for making that happen. Good on you. See, as I said before, I love our proactive, intelligent people.
Maybe we'll get some traffic.
Someone's asked a complicated question about Shopify. We'll get back to you, King, during question time. So how do search engines think? Now, we want you just to remember the big five: backlinks, PageRank, structure, social search, and intuitive search. And how do they come together if you want to harness those things? Well, content is still king. Content is still king. If you have good content, you'll get backlinks. If you get good backlinks, you'll increase your page rank. If you're running a blog that's producing quality content, it's obviously going to match. It's going to reflect Google's desire to have frequency and recency on your website. They're also going to include the keywords that are important to your business. Once again, external linking, you can have internal linking. A good, rich site, you get more social response, so your social search goes up and all the other stuff that goes with it. Content is king. Keywords are the glue, which we're going to be addressing keywords in part 3. Now, you were reading 2 nights ago or a couple nights ago Google's beliefs, and we were talking about this morning, and Google has these 10 beliefs.
Yeah.
And what were the top 3? Because I thought this was great.
Yeah, well, I thought to myself, if you really want to start thinking about how Google thinks in search engines, you really need to have a look at some of their values and their beliefs. So I went through their website and found 3 core ones that I really felt, encapsulated search and what they're trying to achieve. The first one was focus on the user and all else will follow.
Yeah, so true. Marketing 101. I said it before, and we push this stuff onto our web developers and our IT people. That if we're focusing on the user, on the customer, their desires, their needs, their headaches, you come ahead.
Yeah, if you're focusing on creating good, valuable content that's put on your website that people enjoy and they're going to start linking to, they're going to start sharing, that's when you get the most natural backlinks possible because people are actually sharing your stuff.
They're sharing your stuff and they're loving it. What's number 2?
Fast is better than slow.
Fast is better than slow. So once again, we're talking about the structure of the site, the speed of the site. This is something that, we're always having a challenge with Antil because we keep making it better and we keep adding all these different things, and every time we sacrifice site speed, and then we have to go back and work on making the site fast again. But it's all about the user experience. Fast is better than slow, user experience. And what's the third?
The third one, it's best to do one thing really, really well.
It's best to do one thing really, really well. In one word, what do you think what was that mean?
They're talking about niche. For sure. Yeah. They're saying that focus your site on your niche and provide good quality content around that one topic, and they will rank you high.
Yeah, because content is still king and keywords are the glue. So if you're focusing on one area, after a while you end up using all the language and the terminology from that particular industry.
Exactly.
And that will also help from intuitive search. So if you're a hardware site and you're mentioning hammers and hardware and 9-inch nails and all the other stuff that works with it, it's going to help you out.
Definitely.
I thought that was fascinating. They were the top 3. Swipe file. We're going to send you a bunch of different things that we have found really helpful. One of them is a Hubspot report, and what they did is they analyzed websites and they discovered that a website with a blog was, on average, will get 12 times more traffic and 4 times more leads than its industry equivalent. So someone else who's also in that industry running a business of a roughly equivalent size. So if you're a financial planner, and that's your business, and you just have a site that says, we are Australia's leading provider of financial planning services, and then you've got someone who's a business exactly the same size that has a blog, that gets 12 times more traffic on average and 4 times as many leads, And the most interesting thing is the more times that the organisation blogged, the frequency, whether it was once a week or 4 times a week, it didn't just increase the traffic and the leads incrementally. It increased it exponentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's profound right there. That's some amazing statistics, and that just shows that you've got complete leverage of your website. You can scale up to be the size of a huge business just by providing lots of good quality content.
Yeah, by basically focusing on the user, as they say.
As Google puts it.
As Google puts it. So that there, ladies and gentlemen, is the connect between backlinks and search engines, because we wanted to kick things off by focusing on earned traffic. So backlinks and search engines, as we said, they're interrelated. You get good backlinks, you get good search engine optimization.
Yeah, good rankings.
But backlinks are also good because they deliver traffic to your site. Even if there weren't such things as search engines, they still deliver good traffic. So what we want to focus on now is move away from theory and move on to the business of backlinks. So we're talking about tactics and strategies. Implementable tactics and strategies. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think are the fastest ways to get backlinks? So put your thinking cap on, get your little fingers out, and tap in what you think are the fastest ways to get backlinks. Let's have a look what's coming in here. Guest blog posts. Thank you, Pascal.
That's some good ones.
That's some good ones.
Yeah.
Strategic partnerships, advertising, as someone mentioned, so that's paid media. Ask for them. Take part in discussions on blogs. Commenting, asking nicely. Wow, this is really great. We totally predicted that the first thing, we totally got it wrong. Authorship. Thank you, Astrid. We totally got it wrong. We thought that the first thing that someone would say, and things are moving fast, so we can't say what everybody has said.
Maybe it was the first one.
Maybe it was the first one. But we pretty much predicted that the first thing that people would say was directories, because that there for a long time was the easiest way to start getting backlinks.
Yeah.
Let's cut to the chase. It seems like our audience has evolved beyond the idea of directories. But very quickly, what are the strengths and weaknesses of a directory?
Well, firstly, directories, if you don't know, is where you can list your site under a certain category and get a link, a description of your site and a link back to your site. The negatives of them are the fact that was one of the original ways to actually manipulate Google, was through directories. People would create websites, create little directories, and people would start putting their links into them. And there's a lot of bad directories out there. They can be good if you get into good directories like yellow pages and things like that.
Yeah.
But they're not big anymore. Yeah.
So directories are still helpful, but not necessarily from a backlink perspective. So if you're a hardware shop, yeah, sure, get in the hardware business directory. If you need to be in the yellow pages, do that. But in terms of getting backlinks, it's not going to work out. And I think the main reason is that Google does not like for people to pay for backlinks.
They provide no value to Google. When you think about it, what's a directory? It's just a list of sites so people can find each other. But there's no value content based on it. So
the evolution of directories were link farms, which has become a real black hat tactic. So don't even worry about that. Paid links. So yeah, if someone pays for it, it sort of like undermines this whole idea of the endorsement. If you're paying for it, it's not an endorsement.
Yeah.
So when we did mention paid before, and I said, what are some of the ones? You actually said ad links, Facebook links, paid links, and we said paid advertising. The paid link is actually it's a negative. We don't want that.
Definitely don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, it's actually going to harm you. If we really want to break it down so you know what's going on, what basically sends up a big red light for Google is
too many too fast.
Too many too fast.
You don't want to build too many links to your website too fast because Google's onto it. They know how many links are going to a site. They've got ways they can check it out. And, there's lots of tools out there, automated tools, and people selling things where they build thousands and thousands of links back to your site. And they say it's 100% safe, but the end of the day, you don't know where they're coming from. They're coming very fast, and it's all going to look a bit dodgy to Google.
I was hanging out with Collis, the founder of Envato, which is Theme Forest, which is an amazing WordPress tool, which I think we're going to talk about at some point. But I was talking to him, and when he launched one of his new product services, because he owns about 20, 30 different websites, and he linked his 20, 30 websites to his brand new website, and he actually got blacklisted. He got slapped. Yeah, and this is a guy that really knows his stuff. So if we're talking about theory, too many, too fast. Nick has said, what's a link farm? They don't really exist too much anymore, but it's basically a website where you pay money and you basically say, Nick, I'm going to link to your website if you link to my website, and let's create this elaborate structure of linking to each other. It's artificial. Now, if you do something great, Nick, I can link to you because you've done something awesome, and I might link to that your homepage. You might write a blog post about it to say, oh, thanks, Antil, for linking to me, and you might link to my homepage. There's this. It's not like it's different to like a link farm, which is an elaborate construct which Google hates. So what are some of the things that we can do? Now, we want to start with really simple things. We were talking about like tactics and strategies, and we had some great things coming in before, and people were suggesting forums and all sorts of good things. We're going to make it really, really simple for you. If you were to launch, to start again, number 1.
Social media buttons.
Social media buttons. Now, there's someone here, right, thinking, yes, that's obvious. And it is obvious for most people, but for some people, it's still not. I guarantee you, out of the 300 people listening to this, there is probably 20 to 30% that are going, oh, my goodness, I don't have social media buttons on my website. It might even be higher. I run masterclasses, live workshops, and usually, a third to half the room doesn't actually have the buttons. So someone's asked, Kim, what about the concept of social media button taking away people from your site?
We're talking about shareable buttons.
Shareable buttons. So someone reads your blog post and they go, that's great. They click a button and they share it with all their mates on Facebook.
They don't leave your site.
They don't leave your site. Even so, if someone's clicking the Facebook button to go to your Facebook wall, once again, you're building a richer relationship. They become a fan of your Facebook fan page, and that is owned media. Because next time you put something on your Facebook wall saying, check out this new video on my website, they'll come back. That's owned media. And I'm going to show you a slide in a minute. Once again, I said once or twice I'm going to take you to the back end of Antil, and I'm going to show you our Google Analytics to show you what our traffic looks like. And you'll be amazed at the impact of social media. Article contributions. Now, article contributions, a couple of people suggested it before. The first thing that I would do if I had to start again, I'll do it right now, write a list of all the different people who operate and work in your industry, that are thought leaders in your industry, and write a list of those people and contribute articles to their websites, or offer to contribute articles to their websites.
Guest blogging is the number one way, right?
If your target market, I'm putting it out there now, is B2B, business to business, go to the Contact Us page on the Antil website and click the button that says Contribute an Article. It's real easy. What you do is you work out what the headache of your target market is, and you write an article answering how to solve that headache. Not an article talking about how great you are, an article solving a real headache, such as how to get more traffic. Right?
Quality content.
Get quality content. Article contributions. Not only will you get the backlink, you'll raise your profile.
You're focusing on the user.
And you're focusing on the user. Ladies and gentlemen, do an audit of your content. Because what do you have? You have PowerPoint presentations, you have YouTube presentations, you've got slide shares, you've got article directories. Sorry, you don't have article directories. There are article directories, which I suspect will go in the way of link farms and other directories, because we know how Google thinks. For the time being, they still seem to be liked. But there are other places out there that will syndicate your content. So if I put my video on YouTube, what should I do, Mark?
Easy, just a simple measure is to use good keywords in the title first, use good keywords in the description, and also have your link in the description. Many people create videos and go, wow, I created a video, but then they forget to put the link in the description. Yeah, so you can actually, Google is the second largest search engine in the world. Now, if you have a PowerPoint presentation, upload it to SlideShare. We use lots of cheat sheets and ebooks, and we upload them to a site called Issuu, ISSUU. And people follow us the same way people follow people on Pinterest.
And that gets us all sorts of backlinks and stuff like that. That there is a mindset. There are 3 mindsets. Inviting your audience to do your marketing for you by sharing, raising your profile through article contributions, getting backlinks, and finding services out there like SlideShare, like YouTube, that will help you share the information. Nick's raised an important point. Should I duplicate content between SlideShare and YouTube or make them different? Now, if it's a thing, like a video or an ebook or a slide presentation, Google isn't able to work out what the content of them are. So there's issues about having duplicate content out there.
Yeah, it's usually written content.
But it's usually written content. Yeah. So you can have your video on your Facebook fan page, on YouTube, on your website, on someone else's website because they've embedded it from YouTube. Not a problem for you at all.
Yeah.
The challenge, the problem is if you write that same article that you've contributed and you submit it to 400 different outlets and it gets posted in 40 places simultaneously.
Yeah.
That's not so cool, and that's the duplication of content.
Yeah.
Let's get gangster.
Yeah, let's get real gangster.
So I've looked at the time and we're nearing the end. So we've got to be a little bit quick. So let's get gangster. Advanced. This is your favourite.
Yeah, this is my favourite at the moment, and the reason being that there's the SEO benefit of doing a press release is, I think, is the secondary benefit. The first benefit of creating a press release and distributing it through a press release firm like PR Webs or whatever, you actually get, first is the fact that you get put into all these different media outlets, websites, and it gets distributed, so it's good PR, good for SEO backlinks. The main thing though is the fact that if you get picked up by a media outlet and they write an article about you and they link to you, you will get heaps of traffic. You can get ridiculous amounts of traffic. So yeah, the SEO benefits of that is actually secondary.
To take this back in time, when we were a print magazine, people would send us a fax, and the fax would have the press release and would write about it. But these days, you upload your press release to something like
PRWebs.com.
PR Web.
These are paid, so you do have to pay to distribute them. There are a few free ones, but you don't get access to a good database of someone like PR Webs. And the main thing
is it PR Webs or PR Web?
I think it's PR Web.
PR Web.
PR Web. The main thing is with these is that you create a newsworthy piece of content. Don't just write, we are the best accountants in the world.
Yeah, we just hired a new manager. Yeah. It's not very important if you're not a publicly listed company.
It's not newsworthy. Do some research.
Yeah.
Do a little research campaign where you survey some people.
Because what tends to happen is you write the press release, you upload it to the site, they syndicate it to all these news organisations in your niche, and you pay for that. But you get the backlink from the PR Web, which I understand also has a bit of PageRank attached to it.
It does, yeah.
Then if you're picked up by something like the Wall Street Journal, that's a
huge backlink.
That's a truckload of backlink of PageRank love that you're going to get from it. But as well too, like contributing articles, you're raising your profile. You're becoming a thought leader. You're thinking about the user. You're doing something really, really well. My next advance, my gangster one, is get a profile of your business or yourself on Wikipedia, which, by the way, is borderline impossible. So there's a way around this. If there's a profile of your business on Wikipedia or yourself on Wikipedia, well done, good for you. It's a very difficult thing to do because you need to be a really well-known person like a Steve Jobs or an incredible business like an Apple, or whatever it's going to be, because a lot of people want to self-promote by putting up their profiles, upselling themselves, and their businesses. So there's not much in there. But here's what you can do, and a bit of a shout out to Matt Beach from Shoestring Media, who suggested this one to me. And what he said is when you're generating quality content about people and companies for your blog or your website, and it must be quality content, you can offer that as a source within a Wikipedia post. So someone's written a story about Kerry Packer, and you might have a blog post that you've written on the history and life and loves of Kerry Packer. If it's quality and it's good, you can add that as a source, a reference source at the foot of the Wikipedia page, and it will generate you some pretty good traffic because it's a backlink on a high-profile site.
Yeah.
School's out on whether it offers you any PageRank benefits, but I've been doing it a little bit, and Matt does it. And as I said, these are some advanced gangster things that we're loving right now. Brand new one. I wasn't aware of this. Google Sites. What does that mean, Mark?
Well, Google now allow you to create. They've got a little free website builder where you can create these little websites on their platform, and basically
it's a one-page website. So it's not good for your business, but it's good for stamping your authority on a specific topic.
Yeah. So you could write an article about what we do, entrepreneurship or something like that, and then there's a good chance that we're going to rank very high because it's attached to the Google domain. So there's traffic benefits of that, and also the fact that you get a backlink from there.
Right, so it's an extension of the social search idea.
Yeah, exactly.
And you would logically think if Google wants you to use Google Sites, it's going to reward you for using Google Sites.
Exactly.
Because they've got an agenda, and to say they're unbiased is not great. Pascal Haley, I won't try and pronounce your last name. Would this not be the best place to have a blog? No, it would not, because it's a one-page. It's a one-page. Once again, WordPress is the bomb. Now, once again, we said we've got one game changer. We're going to save that for the next one, for the next online tutorial. But I do have to say, just another quick story. We were preparing for this webinar, right? This online tutorial, and we decided to put together a website for a fictional business that didn't exist yet. And we put in the way that we would do it so that we could teach everyone the way that we would do things. And we put it together with a fictional business and a fictional product. And I don't know what was going through your mind, Mark, but Mark actually attached it to his PayPal account, right?
And I was testing it out.
He's testing it out, right? Anyway, so we went and left it and we went away. I want to remind you that this is a brand new website, brand new domain and URL. No really quality content. We're talking about, we just threw random pictures and words and all
this
other
bad.
stuff.
I think there was spelling mistakes in there.
Spelling mistakes.
Grammar was terrible.
Because we were preparing ourselves for this particular series. And we went away, well done, good work, went away, and 5 days later, Mark's mobile iPhone goes ping, and it tells him that someone's purchased something using his PayPal account. Put money in your PayPal account.
Yeah, I think I was out for dinner. And my phone went off, and I thought, how come I've got $99? I don't have any products available at the moment for $99. And I was like, I'll have to check this out when I get home, and someone just paid me some money. So I got back to my computer, and I checked out where the payments come from, and it's told me the website that I put up, 5 days ago. So I rang James straight away. I'm like, JT, we just made money out of that website.
we had to call the guy. We had to refund his money, call him and tell him that the business didn't really exist, and then quickly pull that website down because it was ranking 3 in its keywords on Google.
It was.
So anyway, that's a bit of a teaser. That's a bit of a teaser for why you need to join us next week. Swipe file. So we've got Mark's cheat sheet on backlinks, which if you haven't already got, that will be in the follow-up email. Very briefly, I said before, social media. So we talked about launch tactics and advanced tactics. When we talk about the launch tactics, there's people who are watching, looking at it, going, "Oh yeah, that's obvious." The question is, are you doing it? If you are doing it, are you doing it well? Like, oh, that's obvious, but are you doing it well? Check out this, right? This is real traffic from to Antill's website last month. These are the sources of the traffic. Number 1 was Google, which is around 40%. Direct traffic is the email newsletter. So that's owned media, which is about 30%. The number 3 is Facebook on mobile phones. 4 is Facebook on people's websites. 5 is our email newsletter again. 6 is Twitter. 7 is LinkedIn. 8 is a search engine. 9 is a satellite site, which is a technique which we'll talk about next week. 10 is Yahoo Organic. 11 is another satellite site. 12 is Google, another Google again. 13 is once again social media with StumbleUpon. Twitter feed is 14, and cloud.feedly.referrals. On the top 15, the majority are social media, followed by search engines, followed by other sites associated with my business. SEO is number 1, followed by owned media, and then it's pretty much dominated by social media. So to wind up, content is still king, and keywords are the glue. We thoroughly hope that you got heaps from today. We hope that we've broadened your mind in terms of how search engines think. We hope that we've provided some steps and some actions and some strategies that you can start to take, just starting with some of these basic things like social media and contributing to other people's websites, auditing your content and releasing that content. Set it free. Set it free, some of those basic things. And then if you really want to start to get advanced, start to think about some of those press release services. But the main thing that we want you to be thinking about is that there are 3 types of content: paid, earned, and owned. And if you want to focus on earned, you need to know how search engines think. Because strategies and tactics and shortcuts and techniques are great to get you started, but if you're thinking about things over the longer term, you need to know how search engines think, and that comes to backlinks, Pagerank, structure, social search, intuitive search, built on this underlying concept of content is king.
Exactly. And we've only scratched the surface.
We've only scratched the surface. Lots of people are giving us shout-outs saying, thanks so much, thanks so much. Someone has said, where do we get the 5-minute, where do we get the 5-minute business? Where do we get your, we'll give everyone some free chapters. How's that? Yeah. Can we do that?
If they go to 5minutebusiness.com, they can grab the first chapter. All right. And then we will be releasing it in the next couple of weeks, so we can get a hard copy to anyone who wants to purchase.
All right, okay. But most definitely we will get you some at least one sample chapter. I might squeeze his arm, folks. For the 5-minute business. There's a chapter in there about social media and about using Google Authorship and all sorts of other stuff that absolutely blew my mind. So we'll be sending that around. Now let's have a look at some of the more questions here. They are so fast, and there's a lot of people thanking us. So it's making things a little bit difficult. Someone wants to know about their Shopify store, and do they want to keep their Shopify store or their web blog separate? Now that's a really difficult question.
We'll cover that.
Very specific. Yeah, we actually will be covering that. We will be covering that next week, Kim. And there's a short answer that you can use them both together, but we're going to actually suggest that you split the two. That you split your store from your blog, and we'll be talking about that in the next installment, which is all about strategy. So if today is the fundamentals, understanding Google, understanding backlinks, and a couple ways to get started. Next week is about strategy and conversion, and actually thinking about traffic as a business creation tool rather than traffic onto its own. It's also when we'll be talking about our game changer. And then the following week we'll also be introducing keywords and some other bits and bobs during that time. And then the third week we're drilling down into things like keywords and how not all keywords are created equal.
It's a big subject, and we're really trying to cover everything, basically.
And hey, Paul, who just said thanks, see you next time from Soundies, and he's thrown in. He knows that we'll give him a plug.
Yeah, we'll give him a plug.
He knows our modus operandi. Bronwyn, are you covering the separation of personal and business social media, etc. accounts? No, we're not, but I'll give you a short answer in that now, if you don't mind. I have a business called Antil, but I also have a fairly strong profile on social media. I personally think that creating a social media profile for yourself that's associated with your brand is going to help your brand in the short term, and then it's also going to help your personal brand in the long term. So I thoroughly recommend doing it. So in fact, in my world, I probably have 3. Say if it was Twitter, there would be @Antil Magazine, but there would be @James Tuckerman. @James Tuckerman supports the Antil brand, because everyone expects when they follow me on Twitter now that I'm going to be talking about business tips, and that's the brand James Tuckerman. And then I have a personal quiet one, which I'm not telling you what that one is, and I save that for my family and friends, and that's where I rant about pizza toppings and all the things that anyone who's interested in Antil just does not simply care about. But from the technical side of things, Mark, do you want to say anything about Google Authorship?
Yeah, well, Google Authorship is one of the big things for SEO in now and coming up in the next couple of months is the fact that you can set up the Google Plus profile and connect it to your website, your blog, and you will be set up as an author through Google. So whenever someone searches, a keyword based around a blog post you've done, if you're appearing on the first page, there'll be a little picture of you. And basically that little picture next to your listing makes you stand out in comparison to other listings. So it's like having a eBay featured listing for free. So that's why I think it's really important to attach your personal brand to your business. And like James said, it really builds your personal profile as well as puts a personal face to the business, because not many people like to connect with brands, especially if they don't know who they are.
You wouldn't necessarily follow a hardware store on Twitter. You probably would follow the
Johnny the Hardware
man, or the owner, or the guy who's Australia's leading expert on sandpaper. That's actually a true story. A guy turned up one of my workshops and he was Australia's leading expert on sandpaper. And he was killing it on Twitter. He only had 600 followers, but he was killing it.
I must say, for an ex-Luddite, James, you do social media quite well. So if anyone does jump on Twitter and check him out, check out James on Twitter, because he does it awesomely. Yeah,
I actually teach it, of course, but it's more along the Luddite's guide. So basically, it's the way that I look at it is jargon free, and it's very commercial.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I look at the world. Nick has said, the very prolific Nick has said, someone told me 5 years ago SEO is something of a black art. Do you think that's correct? I don't think it. You know what? I think that if you know how search engines think, and you behave in a way that is good.
Yeah.
And what were the three things? Focus on the user and all.
Focus on the user. Fast is better.
Fast is better.
So best to do one thing really, really well. I mean, 5 years ago, that's when Google was really getting hit with a lot of manipulation. And basically, if you weren't manipulating Google, you were losing out.
Right.
So I think that's what probably Nick's getting at, is the fact that, if you weren't...
So people were incentivized to break the rules 5 years ago.
Because, I don't know if you remember, but you used to search on Google, and, you'd search for a topic, and then the first 5 listings would be crappy ebooks. The $10, $20 ebooks, and, there's no quality content or information there. So
I think that it's more along the lines of understanding understanding the way that the search engines think. And there's that word, search engine optimizing. Then it's like optimizing what it is that you do to create a better relationship with your customers and a better relationship with Google.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's an optimization process. Well, I think it's probably time that we wound up. Thanks so much for everyone for participating, and thanks for being so active and asking all those vibrant questions throughout.
Everyone's been awesome.
Yeah, really smart and intelligent questions. So we're very proud of you. Today we'll sign off, and make sure that you join us next Wednesday as we pick up the thread.
Go under the hood
for the next exciting installment in Traffic Toba. Catch you later, guys.
See you guys.